Hi there dreamers, welcome back to my channel, or welcome here if you are new. Hi, I'm glad you decided to spend some time here. My name is Jacqueline. Consider subscribing if you are into Hoyas and houseplants. That is generally what we get up to on this channel, so hit that subscribe button. You can click the bell to stay notified of the latest on my channel. Recently, as I was doing some plant care around my home, I realized that some of my favorite plants, just my tried and true easy houseplants, have never been mentioned on my channel, so I thought we would right that wrong today. I think I'm titling this Plants I Love That I Almost Never Talk About, because that's truly what these plants are. They're relatively unproblematic, or at least they have been for me, and these are houseplants that really help fill out my home. I really enjoy these houseplants. I'm going to get into why. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how our relationship has developed over time, whether we've had some struggles or it's just been smooth sailing all along. And if you're interested to see some plants that I love that I've never really mentioned, or at least not mentioned very much on this channel, click that like button down below. A lot of you are new here, so even if I have mentioned one or two of these in passing, it was quite a while ago, so it'll be kind of nice to see how they've developed since maybe you saw them in passing. Click that like button down below and let me know which of these plants you find the most interesting, and let me know if any of them are in your homes as well. I would love to hear from you in that comment section. First up, our mall plant, our doctor's office plant. This plant you see just about everywhere because it is just so easy to care for. One of my first houseplants back in, I want to say fall or early winter of 2019 was when I first started collecting houseplants. Thankfully, it is an Aglonema that is not in one of those plastic net pots of death. I think I did a video on that. At least I included it in a video, because almost every Aglonema I have seen on the market for years, if you dig just beyond that soil line, they have this plastic net pot that was never taken off before they potted them into these big plants. By the time you figure out that that's the reason for its decline, it's just already dead. It happened to my Aglonema Red Siam and the Aglonema Golden Fluorite, which I loved. I tried to rescue them and it didn't work. But this one, luckily, from good old Home Depot or Lowe's back in the day, did not have that horrible net pot situation. And this plant was 3 plants when I got it. It's put out one little baby in there, and now I just counted because I was like, that's a lot of growth points. 8 or 9 new growth points where it's sending out like little babies or new stalks off of the existing plants. So very happy with that. It's always putting out new leaves. This one thrived in a pretty low light environment for the last like year plus. It was in a very low light situation, and it still was growing and doing fine, and it put off slightly smaller leaves. I have it near a pretty big east-facing window. It gets pretty regular indirect light all day, and it is just clearly very happy. I turn it every once in a while. This next plant you all would have seen me unbox on my channel if you have been around here very long. If you have not seen that video, I will link it over here for you. You can go watch it after this. My lovely Euphorbia lactea white ghost. I am not a cactus person. I do not enjoy cactus. I do not enjoy pokeboys. Part of that comes from growing up in an area where cactus grew natively. I have had more than enough run-ins with cactus in my life. I was never tempted to entertain them as houseplants or guests in my home. I've poked myself a few times, don't get me wrong, but it's not bad because these little spikes don't really come off, which is helpful. This plant I really love. It has been such a joy to watch grow. It looks really dorky. It looks kind of like a very geometric rabbit for some reason, but I kind of love it. It's grown these 2 little ears since it has been in my care. It enjoys my grow lights, and I just think it's such a neat plant. I would not have bought it for myself, but I'm so happy that I have it. Apparently there was just one little hole in my collection that could be filled by a pokeboy, and here it is. This big fella is actually 2 medium fellas in one. So the leaf that you can see right now is my Alocasia Maharani, which I love. I got it from Gabriella Plants a year and a half ago, and it has even bloomed for me multiple times, and I think it's getting ready to bloom again because this spike here doesn't seem to have a leaf in it. When this thing blooms, it smells so strong. I used to have this in my plant room before we moved here, and I thought that my husband, I accused him of breaking something because the smell of the flower on this plant is so incredibly like fresh and green smelling that it almost smelled like a giant branch had been like broken off somewhere, like some sort of accident had happened. And I asked him, I was like, did you do anything? Like, did anything happen in the plant room? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It smells so strong in here. And then I found this bloom. And I think it had 2 blooms at the time. This spike, I believe, is a bloom. The spike that's over here, this smaller one, I'm not sure what that one's gonna do yet. It could be another bloom or it could be a leaf. That is a head-sized leaf. This guy did suffer from spider mites for a short time when I first got here, but some Bonide 8 took care of that after a couple of treatments. And I lost my original Alocasia Black Velvet during my move. It's one of the few plant casualties I had, but I purchased another one because they were available when I got here at a local nursery. So this is the largest and newest leaf it has put out. It is almost head size, not quite. They both had spider mites for a little while. I think it may have come from the Black Velvet, but I'm not sure. But I decided to pot them together because my Alocasia Maharani has generally done really well. It was due for a repot anyway, and consolidating I thought would be a good idea because my Maharani has done really well, and that way I'm just kind of adding this one to its existing care routine. This one has been doing really well. There has not been a resurgence of spider mites since my treatment and eradication of them a couple months ago. I think the really dark foliage looks really nice with the more gray as well. They just complement each other. Oh, here we go. You're gonna have to excuse our aging leaf. I was not gonna chop off a partially yellow leaf just for a video because that is not real life. And you can see the base of this one is still green, so it's still providing some sort of value to the plant. Anyway, this is my Anthurium superbum. It is one of the slowest growing plants in my collection though, so if you do purchase one of these, make sure you like how it looks because it's gonna look just like that for a very long time. This plant has put off, I believe, 4 leaves in my closing in on 2 years of ownership. So this was the first leaf it put off in my collection. Not enough humidity. I think I was maybe moving at the time. I can't remember. This is its newest leaf with a little bit of damage at the tip. It is still growing, so I'm hopeful it's going to get bigger. It is in an orchid pot. I'm due to repot this soon. I do keep this one a little bit more moist than a lot of my other houseplants because of the style of pot it's in. I don't want it to get too dry. It's the only Anthurium I have, and I think it's a pretty cool one. I recently heard in, I believe it was, is it Nick Alexander's video? These things can get to be absolutely massive. I mean, I guess hence the name superbum. They can get huge. I don't know that this one will get that huge, but wouldn't it be nice? I see a pest. Who are you? I don't know if that is a mite or an aphid, but I'm gonna go treat this with Bonide 8 and that'll take care of that. This plant I may have talked about once, but I don't think so. This is my Pilea involucrata or Pilea mollis, or Moon Valley friendship plant. This plant is really, really dense because I bought some filler plugs to plant back into the base once I moved. This one, I have a tendency not to pinch it back and then it gets kind of lanky and leggy. Thankfully, it has put off some little baby shoots down in the soil now, but I will need to be better about pinching it back so it doesn't get so scraggly looking. But you can see all the dark foliage is foliage I have had for quite some time. Those are the plants that were in my care since before I moved. And the bright green leaves are the ones that I purchased once I moved here and added to the pot. This plant is suffering slightly and dropping some leaves because I let it get too dry not very long ago, drooping over the side of the pot, completely deflated. And This did bounce back, but it's definitely lost some leaves as a result. So this plant also flowers a lot, which is really cute. They look like little pale pink broccoli clusters. It lives near a south-facing window and loves life over there. It's very easygoing. I just water it when it is completely dry, and that's all it really wants from me. It's been a part of my collection for, yeah, almost 2 years now. There are 2 more plants I want to talk about, but they are too big for me to bring into this room. One is my fiddle leaf fig. I love my Ficus lyrata, or Ficus lyrata? I don't know. It is actually 2 plants. The reason why I bought it when I did was because it not only had the slightly bigger plant in there, but it had a little baby fiddle in there too. So my fiddle leaf fig is wonderful. I was prepared for her to be a diva because of all the research I did online before getting said tree and bringing it into my home, but she's been nothing but pleasant for me. I think it's because I just bought a really healthy plant and I've continued to keep it somehow very healthy, and I'm actually due to repot it again. I just repotted it, I want to say in like February of this year, maybe March. Needs a repot again. I went to pull something out of the saucer because it just looked like a dead leaf or something, and it was like, no, there are roots coming out of all of these holes now, so it's gonna be kind of comical because it's a little too cold for me to do that outside, so it will be an adventure. I thought about filming it, but there's truly nowhere that I could go that wouldn't be backlit to be able to do that. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to save the embarrassment for my own private time. It has moved twice with me. It has lived in 3 different US states. It lived in a box for a week this summer as I moved cross country, and it didn't miss a beat. Once I got settled here, it started putting off like 4 leaves at once. I don't know that it's gonna make it another year before I have to prune it so it doesn't hit my ceiling, but I love this plant. It has done really well for me. It has only dropped like a handful of leaves, one at a time, throughout its life with me. So I feel like I got really lucky with this one, and I am just going to stay humble and not take on any other ficus because that one is enough for me. The last plant I want to mention is one that used to be in the background of several of my videos. My domino peace lily, or my variegated spathiphyllum, is one of my favorite plants. It's one of my largest plants as well. It lives in my bedroom near an east-facing window, and it has flowered for me multiple times. I don't need it to flower. I think it's beautiful regardless, but it is a nice surprise. It's a nice bonus when your houseplants flower. It has been in my care for quite some time. It's pretty easy care. I will say something that has made my life easier with the plants that prefer to remain moist, like my peace lily. They're basically like a live-in moisture meter. The one that you leave in the pot and it changes color when it goes from moist soil to dry soil, and that's really helped me to be able to have a visual cue before my plant starts to droop. For those ones that definitely need to stay moist, that might be something to look into. I don't know what they're called, but if I can find them, I will link them for you. Let me know. Do you own any of these plants? Which of them was your favorite, or are you interested in any of them? Let me know your thoughts and questions in that comment section. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, let me know by leaving a like. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!